All right. 3, 2, 1. Oh, started joking. 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Fish and Grits, the podcast. I'm Ryan Dollar. This
is Marco.
And this.
Micah.
Oh, Micah with the, I don't know if that was my computer or if it was yours, but you went Micah.
You went 56K for a second.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
This is throwback Micah, just the way he likes it. He only likes to use 56Ks to dial into the show.
It's the most secure way of getting on the...
These high-end connections are too modern for me. Today,
I think somebody else is on Zoom.
All right. Today is Tuesday, November 24th. We are now, 2 days until Thanksgiving? Coming up.
Tuesday, yep. 26th.
It's hard to really know because I'm assuming most of y'all aren't going to be doing the big family events this year due to obvious reasons that we don't have to go too much into. But yeah, if you are going to go celebrate, guys, make sure to be safe, wear masks in public areas, social distance. And
crack all them windows in that house because it's gonna be hot in there. Y'all gonna be breathing each other's air.
Right, you're gonna be laughing, telling jokes. People are gonna be loud, coming out the mouth. So before I get into the election thing, since we're already on the topic of COVID, we were just talking about this map that I found, and actually that spurred from CNN posting something earlier this week. It was like, the percentage chance of catching COVID in a group size of 10. And like all across the nation, it was like, in Atlanta, I was surprised it was only 19%. We were the third lowest behind I want to say New York City was second, and then first was Hawaii. So it was like, of course they're going to have the lowest chance. But a lot of the rural places, the ones that are getting really hit hard right now, we're all in like the 50s and 60s, like Kansas and Nebraska and all those places, which are just red because those are the places where it's spreading real hard. And I actually have a theory on this. It's not supported by anything. I have a prejudice. Doesn't mean it's not true, but I feel like those that are in those rural areas are actually catching that first wave that we all had, in the big cities, like, when it was spiking really bad then, because, they were not exposed to it. And they were the ones going, it's not real. COVID's not real. This is made up. And now it made its way out to the country. And it's like, ooh, look at all these fresh bodies.
New hosts.
Right. That's just my theory.
That's a good theory. That makes sense. My theory about Atlanta is that it's so low because it never actually was accepted to exist here.
Yeah. And everyone's like, fuck it, I'm going to go to the club. And they got it, and now they're immune.
Right. And most people here never even knew they probably had it. And then they're just...
Right. All these people that are going to the clubs, or like the strip clubs, they're like, I never got it. It's like, no, you did. Yeah. You just didn't know you had it.
Right.
There is a 0% chance that you had been going out to the club and strip clubs this long and you did not get it.
Consistently, right?
Right. Because, I don't know if y'all seen the videos on y'all's timelines, but, man, those clubs are thick as thieves. Or they are packed.
Last Thursday.
Oh, yeah. The Gucci Jeezy event.
Yeah. It was packed in there after at the after party for the Gucci Jeezy battle.
And Compound is not a small club.
Yeah,
that was at Magic City, wasn't it?
Well, the event was at Magic City. The after party was at Compound.
Oh, they had an after party. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, can we just...
I'm surprised you didn't know.
A couple words on that.
Oh, yeah. Go for it, Marco.
I'm going to just say, so this is the way I've sort of surmised it. Like, Gucci, man, the reason people mess with Gucci more is because he's like the real lyrical hood dude. But to me, Jeezy makes hood jingles. You know what I mean? He makes like hood anthems and jingles. So to me, like, if you just ask me who makes better music, who has better songs, it's always going to be Jeezy. But in terms of like, just like who is more in touch with that demographic, the Atlanta demographic, it's probably Gucci. And I will say the fact that Gucci did 2 diss songs to Jeezy back to back, and Jeezy was like all on that. Oh man, this was for King Von. This was for blah blah blah. I came out here blah blah. But then
This is
he
for the
did that.
culture.
Right, this is for the culture. Like after he ranted, Gucci went and did another diss song. And I thought that alone, if we're talking about battling, Gucci won just because of that reason. But yeah, I'm obviously Jeezy is a better artist.
Well, that's not expected. So this is really random. So this guy, his name is the Stretch Doctor, and this is completely random. Sorry. He just started following me on Instagram. And he is one of the top stretching doctors for like recovery, injured athletes in major sports. He's the team doctor for the Georgia Swarm, and he does like all the soft tissue damage for the Hawks and the Falcons. He just started following me.
Hey man, that may have a potential
Sounds
guest.
I was about to say sounds like a guest.
Let's go.
He just recently did Foyer. That's the only reason I knew about him.
We can ask him about Achilles, and he would know about all that.
What's your opinion on soft tissue damage in this shortened, abbreviated season, or however? That's pretty cool.
Dope.
Teaser alert.
Micah, give your opinion real quick on Jeezy Gucci. I know it's potent.
Oh well, I've always been more of a Jeezy fan, just because like the better music. To me, it was more about the music. I was there for the music, and I mean, us being from Atlanta, we knew the beef and the drama behind it, but ultimately, I was there for the nostalgic moments of the music, and that's why it frustrated me that Gucci went all in on the beef part. And it was like, bro, I get it, but at the same time, bro, you had some hits that you could have played to like legitimately battle with it was like, nah, screw this battle. I'm here to insult you. And granted, I mean, we know the whole thing was,
if someone
like,
tried to kill me, I'd do the same thing.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd be petty
get
till the
it,
day I
but
died.
at the same thing. I guess I'm at that age where I just pettiness. I've seen old people, like too many old people that just are so petty for no damn reason, and it frustrates me. So I try to avoid pettiness when I can. So
I just saw something as well, and I didn't know this was happening. Maybe you all did. Hey, isn't the fight tonight? Or is it? When is it?
The Roy Jones fight is next Saturday.
Next Saturday?
I think so.
So this coming?
Yeah, the 28th.
Okay, cool. Also, Friday, apparently there's the match is happening again, and it's Mickelson and Barkley versus Manning and Curry.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
So essentially, it's
Manning
like
and Curry.
one pro that's elite versus with a really bad golfer versus 2 pretty good above average golfers. Huh. That's interesting. Is Mickelson good enough to carry Barkley? Or is Barkley just that trash?
That swing. Oh my God.
Boy, I can't wait to watch that. Speaking of 56.
The herky jerky swing.
All right. So in other news, Trump wants another recount in Georgia. He's already lost twice here. And he wants another.
Going for the 3-peat.
Well, I mean, it's like, I didn't know about this, but
Trifecta.
apparently it costs Georgia $3 million every time we do a recount. That's a lot of money.
And that's all on us because
Yeah.
the candidates are not required to pay for that.
Yeah. So no, you've lost twice. Sorry, buddy. It's time for you to concede. Your lying press secretary, whatever her name is, can say whatever
McEnany.
Yeah, her. She can say whatever she wants. Giuliani can get up there and melt out the ears again and sneeze into a rag, then rub it all over his face. Did y'all see that? He got out his handkerchief, sneezed into this part.
Nose. He didn't sneeze. He blew his nose.
Oh yeah, that's right. He blew his nose and then folded it.
He blew his nose.
Folded it the wrong way.
Snot side up.
Yeah, snot side out, and then continued to like pat himself on the face, and it's just like, huh?
Yeah.
So
It
it's like,
reminded me of the scene. It reminded me of the scene from Billy Madison with that mom. Kid blew his nose and started wiping.
oh god, yeah.
Oh man.
Boy, it's just like everything that could go wrong for them right now is going wrong. And it's like karma. It was like, it took a while for karma to catch up, but now it's just hitting as a tidal wave and it's just taking them all out. And they all look so dumb.
But all I can say is to the entire Trump administration here, hold this L.
Big fat L. So since we're on the topic of dumb people, OANN, One American News Network, which we covered a while back when I'm a man, I'm 40, had his whole problem. Gundy.
Mike Leach?
Yeah, Mike Leach.
No, Mike Gundy.
Gundy. Okay.
Oh, Mike Gundy. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the mics, one of the redneck mics. They got banned from posting YouTube videos for a week because they just kept spreading disinformation.
Oh, they did?
I just love it how these large networks are like, now that we don't have to worry about the backlash from these idiots, here's what's really going to happen. Flag, 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 flag. Like Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all of them are just like flagging the hell out of videos. Like, nope, can't post that. Nope.
False information.
That's not true. Here's the reason it's not true. Here's the facts.
It's so funny that because I do
this
like
is actually fake news.
right. I do like hashtag marketing, just to grow Instagram. And it's like ever since the election stuff has been happening, because of the right wing, I have not been able to do that because they've canceled your ability to look at recent hashtags just because there's so much fake information.
Good job, idiots. We got the runoff election coming up here in Georgia on January 5th. If you have not registered and you didn't vote last time, please do so this time. This is very important. This is what directly affects you. This is your local election. These are the people that will be representing you. The president is only so much of a representative of you. Your senators and your governors are a direct representative of you and your community and what happens in your community. This is extremely important. Also, they are purging voting records here. So just because you voted last time does not mean you are still registered this time. They are particularly targeting African-American women. So if you're an African-American woman or if you know one, please tell them to check their voting status. They said if you put in your information, you see your name, you're good to go. If you see a long paragraph, you've been purged, please register again and report it.
Where do you check this?
One vote. It's like vote. I can pull it up here in a second. It's like one vote, I believe. I looked it up the other day. Georgia, I believe. I will post it in the description of this episode. And Marco, we can do the same on YouTube.
Okay.
I don't have it right now. I did it on my phone the other day. I believe that is it, unless y'all have anything else, current events that's pressing and exciting or just dumb. Anything that goes in the 2020 folder.
I did not know John Ossoff was only 33 years old.
Yes, he is. He is a representative of our generation. Time to get these old farts out that only care about themselves and money.
Boot them out.
Yeah. So that does it for current events. Let's go ahead and knock this NFL grits blitz out. And
Grits blitz.
It's blocking in the trenches. So for those of you who watched our live broadcast on Sunday evening after the Saints we went down to New Orleans and got throat punched by the Saints. We'll do a quick recap. The Saints kicked their teeth in. They made us look like a terrible team, like a terribly coached team. They won every phase of the game. And we looked like a team that didn't really know what our identity was. We didn't know how to play football, and we didn't know basic counters. We just look inept pretty much on offense. The defense looked good. They did as much as they could for most of the game, and then the offense came out in the second half and went 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and that's when the game got out of hand. And we didn't have a first down until 7 minutes and 44 seconds left in the fourth quarter in the second half. So that's how you lose games and you look really bad. Y'all got anything to say about that?
I just want to say, like, I know we talked about this like 3 weeks ago, but it will be quick, Micah. You can get in there. But I just want to say, it's like I heard Raheem. Obviously, this is a major theme for Dirk Cutter, but they always want to say, like Raheem said this week, he's like, oh, well, the Saints just, did a better job dictating, what we could do on offense. It's like, I am so sick of that. Like, does anyone dictate what Pat Mahomes does on offense? Does anyone dictate what the Steelers come out and do on offense? Like, my God, man, it's just, we need to get rid of everybody. I don't want any of these guys.
I think a lot of what Raheem was saying was coach speak, though.
I know it's coach speak, but I'm just it's a losing culture, and they all got that stench on them. And I like Raheem, don't get me wrong, but I just think we need to purge this whole staff.
Yeah, I mean, go for it, Michael.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I was gonna say is, I looking at the forums and Twitter posts and stuff, it's amazing how, Matt Ryan played a bad game, and so many fans won't acknowledge that he struggled. He looked bad. The offensive line was terrible. And it's like, I mean, I get it. The offensive line wasn't great, but there were plenty of times where he could have made a decision to not take a sack. He could have thrown the ball away or, something. But, if the Ravens lose and Lamar Jackson has a bad game, those same fans will be like, oh, Lamar Jackson cost them that game. But when Matt Ryan has a terrible game and we lose, it's it wasn't his fault though. It just wasn't his fault. So play it the same way across the board.
I mean, Matt Ryan definitely was part of the reason we lost. I don't think he is the reason we lost.
Well, I don't think he's 100% of the reason, but he was a big reason we lost that game.
I'd say like,
but
50%.
They won't give him any credit.
I would say Cutter 1 takes the biggest blame. And then I'm up in there whether to put Matt Ryan second or the offensive line second. Those could almost share an equal blame, and then receivers are probably fourth.
I put Matt Ryan second, but because there were times where he could have at least maneuvered the pocket to throw it away, or like that, the one where he got sacked and put us out of field goal range. It's like, dude,
yeah,
you could have at least thrown it at a receiver's feet and kept us in field goal range. Anything but take a sack, and that's what you did. So, I mean, that's just my personal feelings on that.
And I assign him. I put him firmly 2 as well. I know the offensive line, like everybody on the offensive line, gets an F, on their report card.
Oh yeah,
no doubt. But at the same time, it's like, Matt, you're a former MVP. You're our veteran. Like Hayden Hurst, 3 targets, no catches. How is that in a game when you get sacked 8 times? You know what I mean? Todd Gurley, I don't even think he had a catch out the back. Maybe 1 catch out the backfield. No passes to the running backs. And I understand, yeah, that's why Dirk, firmly goes 1, right? Because you gotta.
Todd Gurley had 1 catch for 3 yards.
1 catch for 3 yards. You got to help your quarterback out. But at the same time, like I'm saying, this is our MVP. This is the best quarterback in Falcons history. And you got to do better.
The guy we're paying the guy we're paying more than any other quarterback we've ever had.
Yeah. So getting off the blame train, because we could go all day on that. Well, not completely getting off it. So after that game, you saw and heard all over Atlanta sports media a vitriolic response towards Dirk Cutter. And that's the first time I've really heard that in unison from across all outlets is to fire Cutter. I think I heard every single host on 92.9 at some point call for his job. I think I read it across just about every major Atlanta blogging site. I've seen it on YouTube's. It's everyone saw it. Now, the question I have is, do the Atlanta Falcons hear it? I.e., does Arthur Blank hear it? And if he does and doesn't fire him, what is he doing? What do you think is he just saying, you know what, this season's a wash anyway. Let's, lose. He's going to continue to cost us games, so let's get a better draft pick. Or is he oblivious to it? Micah.
All right, I'll take that. All right. I don't think he's oblivious to it. I think he knows it too, but I think he's more so in the, like I said, I think he's more in the mindset like, all right, we've already fired the head coach. Do you tear down the entire thing in the middle of a season, or tear another big piece down in the middle of the season, or do you just let this play out the rest of the year, and then at the end of the year you can make your decision? He's probably gone, but do you want to shake it? Do you want to shake things up even more in an already bad season, or do you just want to say, you know what, we know he's gone. We know he's gone after the season. We'll wait and we'll worry about it after the season instead of shaking up too much.
Marco, and then I have a follow-up for both of y'all.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what's clear is that I think it's always this ebbs and flows type of thing with Arthur, where he gets high for a second, we win a couple games. And I do think he really genuinely gets enthusiastic about how we're doing and how we might look in a stretch, even if it's against some terrible teams. But I really don't think that I don't think he's in the tank mode, obviously, but I think that there's no longer a premium of winning on this season. I don't think he's necessarily, dialed in on just winning this season, because either that or Dirk has blackmail on somebody in the organization because quite frankly, there's no reason he should have survived the Dan Quinn firing. That should have been, Knapp or whoever, just, slide right in and let's just try something new, because Dan, he was 70 to 60% of the reason why those first couple games were bad as well. You know what I mean? We were dying with his play calling. It was hard to watch. You know what I mean? Even more so than how deplorable the defense was. It was like, damn, this play calling is so inept. I
know it's weird that we addressed really 3 out of the 4 major positions on our team. We fired the head coach. We changed defensive coordinators. We changed special teams coordinators, but we left our offensive coordinator. So my follow-up question to both of you, and whoever wants to answer it first can you fairly assess Raheem Morris's ability to lead this team with such an anchor around his ankle that is Dirk Cutter?
Yeah, I think you can. I think he's you can assess like his decision making. You can assess like the way he handles the players, doing things like holding players accountable. Now, granted, he needs to hold Dirk more accountable, but I think at the end of the day, if firing Dirk, even if Raheem says, Dirk, you're done, I think you're still in the same boat where you have your next in line are guys who didn't run a scheme like Shanahan and will be forced to run a playbook that's not theirs. And I think that's ultimately the negative thing about it. So you can assess him, and then, like I said, and then give him a shot, and then after the season you can come back and be like, all right, so when you interview him, why should we retain you? What can you do better? What would you do differently with the opportunity? So
I'm gonna answer it like this. So I'll say no, it's not fair to assess his abilities as a head coach based on what's going on here, because he does have that anchor on him. And it appears that no matter how much you yell at Dirk Cutter, he's not capable of those adjustments. And I firmly believe that Raheem is sitting down with him being like, what the fuck what were you doing here? Like, what's going on here? Why does this keep on happening? And so the way that I want to say this is it'll probably ruin his chances of keeping this job, which I'm okay with. But I don't think that when he goes and gets other, opportunities, head coaching opportunities, that they should, let that affect their perception of how good he can be. I think they should more look at the positive aspects and look at the situation and not just be like, okay, well, he was the captain of the ship. You know what I mean? Because there's so many, there's context there that you have to apply.
Yeah, I agree. I still would not mind a Raheem hiring, just from what we've seen in other areas. I mean, he's made that big of an impact. But I feel like, maybe he doesn't have the power to revoke Dirk's play calling, but I feel like if he does have the ability to be, all right, look, you're not calling plays anymore, it's up to Knapp. He does have that power, and he doesn't, then he definitely deserves that judgment, because then, he's thinking, or he doesn't see it like everyone else does. But he may not have that ability, as an interim. So let's skim through some recaps of last week's games before we get into some other NFL news.
Are we going to look ahead? Are we still?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
And then get to let's do our look ahead and then recap. So this Sunday, we will be facing the Las Vegas Raiders. And I really hope one of their newest additions is on the field. That would be great. But we'll cover that in a second. This week, the Raiders, who are, I believe, 7-4. I could be wrong.
No, they're 6-4 now.
6-4. Who've already beaten the Chiefs once and then just took them down to the wire again. They're one of the bigger surprise teams for a lot of people in the NFL. I wasn't that shocked, just because you saw their improvements last year. You saw what Gruden is building out there and how much their players love them. And like I told y'all, Derek Carr isn't as bad as you thought he was. That team is playing well in all phases of the game. Their defense looks solid. They're not like an elite unit, but they're good, and they will certainly be better next year. Their offensive line is big and mean, and they push people around, and that's even without Richie Incognito. Their receivers, they play well. There's not one standout except for maybe their tight end and Darren Waller. But Aguilar looks good. Hunter Renfrow looks like a great slot receiver. And then they got Ruggs, the absolute burner, on the outside. And they've got Josh Jacobs at running back, who's just a beast. And you will not take him down on the first attempt most of the time. So I have very little faith that we're going to win this game, especially after what the Raiders or the Saints just did to us. And they have very similar traits, and they dominate both lines, and they let their skill positions just do enough, really. What are you guys seeing? Because I don't want to, go too much into this, just because my care for the Falcons is very little right now. what are you seeing in this game? What's something you're looking forward to watching? What do you think is going to happen in this game? Just kind of give me, your basic thoughts and feelings and predictions in this game. Marco.
So I think that obviously I think we'll lose. But not only do we have a terrible record against AFC teams, but the Raiders are actually a good team. And I think I do see this being a get back game for our offense. Like we won't have two terrible games in a row, so it'll be close, but we still will not be able to pull it out in the end. That's sort of what I see here.
So you think we're going to catch an L? Do you think it's going to be kind of close?
Yeah, 35-31, something like that, like shootout, but not probably closer on paper than the game actually was. That one of those type of things.
Interesting. Micah, what you thinking? What you seeing? What you want to see?
Hold on, I'm just looking through their schedule real quick. Yeah. I think the Raiders are a very good team, but I also think that they can be a very inconsistent team. Like this like I'm looking at their schedule. So they went down to the wire against the Panthers early in the year, and like the first game of the season, which the Panthers were not very good. Patriots spanked them. They lost to the Bills. Buccaneers absolutely trounced them. And which Buccaneers are a very stacked team.
Mm-hmm.
But to get beat that bad is, they struggled against the Browns.
That was a weather game.
Yeah. Chargers, a beat up Chargers team took them down to the wire.
Still a division game.
Everybody.
Yeah. Well, and like here's the thing. They're built like the Saints, but I think the difference is the Saints are a division rival, and the Saints are very passionate when they play us. So I think we saw outside of maybe again that Tampa game where they beat the brakes off Tampa, we saw some of the best that they had to offer defensively, especially on the defensive end, because that pass rush was more relentless than I've ever seen. And it's like they smelled blood in the water, and they kept going after Matt.
Because they saw our offensive coordinator sitting there going, "Help! I'm drowning."
Oh man, you made him look like the what's called it, sales flailing arms,
wacky arms inflatable tube guy.
But yeah, so I think it was. So I do think they're a really good team. I think we probably will lose this game, but I do think it won't be nearly as bad of a game as that Saints game was, because the intensity level, they're not going to match that intensity level that the Saints Saints had went down in New Orleans. So if we somehow snuck this game out, it wouldn't surprise me, but I do think we're going to lose.
Cool. No, I'll say that we just got some good news on the Jelly Time Points in the Paint segment. Y'all can imagine what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we can if we bounce back and win, maybe we'll see Knapp calling our offensive play calls, or they just give it to Matt. Who knows? Who knows with this Falcons team, because these last 4 games have been a roller coaster. All right, let's do a quick recap of what happened around the league before we move on. And let me pull this up. Y'all got anything else y'all want to say about the Raiders before we move
Nah.
on?
Nah, but I do want to point out the only reason I would say that we might win is because just like I said about the Denver Nuggets, I mean the Denver Broncos, how we beat them that one season, and a lot of times trends for some reason happen to carry over, and we did beat the Raiders and the Broncos that season. So
Okay, well, we shall see. All right, so Seahawks beat the Cardinals. You saw another down to the wire game where the Cardinals had a chance to tie it up, took 4 shots into the end zone. Actually, the 4th one ended up with a sack by the newly acquired Carlos Dunlap. It's really inexcusable for the
Don't understand that.
yeah the Cardinals to give up a sack with a 3-man rush. That's that stuff on Madden that makes you want to throw your controller.
My thing was, it's like, dude, why didn't y'all just try and get a first down?
Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
The clock was still on your side.
You'd like
Get a first
they
down.
started those with like 50 some odd seconds, those throws into the end zone.
right,
It was and not to mention they were at like the 20.
Yeah,
Like you can get a first down, and it's close enough where you don't have to worry about, oh crap, we got to trek 30 yards downfield to spike this ball.
it was
like,
very
I
strange.
got to get to the edge.
I mean, even if that's the case, let him boot out and run for 10 yards because they were in prevent defense.
Yeah,
You're as fast as a cornerback.
It was inexplicable. It really was.
It was very strange, very unlike them this season.
But I do want to mention though that I've seen 2 times where their coach, what's his name?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah,
Cliff Kingsbury has been choky as hell. Like when he called that one timeout, when Kyler was like, "What the? Why did you just call that time?
Why'd you just freeze me, ice me?"
Just like at the end of that one game where the first game when they won in overtime, he was choking in that game too, coming down the stretch. But yeah, I've seen that a couple times.
Yeah, he's still got a lot to learn. I mean, he's young.
Yeah,
but I mean,
visibly nervous.
The transformation he's taken that team through is undeniable.
For sure.
He's obviously a very good coach, and I feel like I wanted to hire him several years ago. I think it was actually the season we hired Sarkisian. I wanted him to be our offensive coordinator.
I remember that. I do remember you saying that.
Then we had the Eagles lose to the Browns. Carson Wentz is absolute trash. The Browns, I mean, the Eagles are just a bad team. The NFC East is a bad division. You're going to have a team coming out of that make the playoffs with probably a similar record as the Falcons.
I mean, when you have a quarterback when they're calling for a quarterback who could barely complete a pass until his 4th year of college, things are
Bro, I'm gonna say this though. Thursday night is Eagles Washington Football Club.
Boy.
So another primetime game for the NFC East. Oh my God. I guess I'm not watching Thursday night football. This is going to be terrible.
I will, just because I'll have nothing better to do. Yeah, like the NFC East is just a literal dumpster fire.
But those are our Thanksgiving games, though. So it's
we got 2 or 3. Is it 3 on Thanksgiving?
Three. Have one of them.
First one starts early, guys, too. So if you're not prepared, it comes on earlier than normal. So,
and Cowboys. That means Cowboys are playing Thursday too.
Oh my God! It's like I think
Cowboys Lions, right?
Something like that.
What a terrible lineup.
It's gonna be so many teams with losing records playing on Thanksgiving.
God. I mean, that's suiting. It's Thursday night football. There's never good Thursday night football matchups except for that Packers and who was that 2 weeks ago? Packers and somebody was a good game.
The Lions are going to be the best team on Thanksgiving. That's
who just got shut out by the Panthers.
By XFL. Oh yeah, by an XFL guy.
PJ Walker. He looked pretty good.
He comes out gunning, man.
He's got a cannon.
Yeah, man, he does.
He's an exciting quarterback. I mean, when he was on the Alouettes, I believe that's what team he was on in Canada. He was really good, and then XFL again was very good. And he knows Matt Rule's system. He was his quarterback in college, so it's an easy transition.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Andrew Luck gives him a stamp of approval. Hey,
Yes.
Dad, this is the guy you should really look at this guy.
Did he?
One neckbeard stamp of approval.
Yeah, no, because he was on the Colts practice squad and got cut, and he told his dad when they were starting the XFL that was a guy that he needed to go out and get. So,
oh well, shit. All right, but the Colts feel really dumb right now. And one of the saddest games of the week, we had the Bengals lose to the Washington Football Club, 20-9, and the Bengals quarterback curse continues because Joe Burrow went down, I believe, in the third quarter, grabbed his right knee or his left knee, and was carted off the field. And then they announced like 2 days later that he did indeed tear his ACL and MCL.
Which they really didn't have to announce because just by watching it, that's one of the worst.
Yeah, when his knee went,
it was worse than that because they said he did damage to the PCL, the LCL, and the meniscus.
Oh, he didn't tear him, but he did. Oh, yeah. So he
did. But he did damage to him. So his knee pretty much exploded on the field.
He almost Teddy Bridgewatered it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't have that dislocation though, but
Right.
that's rough.
The quarterback curse energy was just way too high. You got the Bengals energy and the Washington energy. It's just like, damn.
Yeah, they love to hurt quarterbacks, and the Bengals can't keep theirs healthy.
Yeah.
God, I hope he comes back healthy and bounces back because, man, he is such a fun player to watch. He's just a good guy. He's a good kid because he is technically like, 20, 21 maybe? A young man.
21, 22.
Is he that old?
Like that.
Yeah, he was like a 5-year guy.
21. He's 20. I think he's 21.
21.
Wait. He might be older because he played 4 years in college.
Joe Burrow.
What's a redshirt year?
Age. Joe Burrow is 23. Okay.
Yeah, he had a redshirt year.
Yeah.
And he played.
So he's a young man, but he's just a really, really good guy to watch. He's a lot of fun. He plays the game the right way. And he's hella talented. So that really sucked to see that happen. Gary Owen, when they posted it on the Cincinnati Bengals, or I think it was like one of those like Sports Center or something like that, he's like, man, this is probably one of the saddest days of my life because like he was the guy. We could tell that he was the guy, and now this happened again. So I'm signing off of social media for the rest of the day. And I was like, that's gotta suck, man. Like being a Falcons fan is pretty bad, but we haven't had that length of just ineptitude at quarterback, man. Like it just can't get the job done. When you do have the talent, they get hurt. When you draft a guy, they just suck.
Well, star players. I mean, granted, we've had a few, but I mean, I remember reminds me of how hurt as Braves fans when Chipper Jones tore his ACL.
That sucked. Yeah,
and granted, it's not quite as the same because quarterback in the NFL is much more important than just third baseman. But it's just when your franchise player gets a season-ending injury, it just your heart sinks down into your stomach and you're just like, oh, season's over.
I mean, their season was never really anything to begin with. Even with as well as he was playing, they were, a really bad team because they have a lot to work on. Their offensive line is terrible. Their defense is just a wet paper bag. All they really have is a bright young future at quarterback, free safety, and Bates, running back, and some of their wide receivers are showing some flashes of being really good.
Higgins.
Higgins. He is boy, he's looked good this year.
Yeah. They said something like AJ Green caught his first touchdown in that game since like 2018.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus Christ. What happened to him?
Injuries,
right?
Yeah.
Couldn't stay
His
healthy.
legs exploded. His legs
I
explode
mean,
every year.
not to stay on this one too long, but I know they were trying to sort of like, maybe ask like, should have Joe Burrow been on the field, considering like he's one of the most sacked quarterbacks. And I mean, I'm in the camp we're saying like he just got to play. I mean, this just football happens. But do y'all feel the same way? There's like maybe there's the coach maybe has some of this blame, or how do y'all feel?
I think the whole organization takes some blame for putting, that type of asset behind such a terrible offensive line. I mean, before the season even started, there was jokes about how Joe Burrow is going to be running for his life. And everybody knew it was bad. And I think, experience is valuable in the NFL. Yeah, for sure. But we've also seen how damaging getting sacked that many times can be with the older Carr brother and David. Because and Joey Harrington, to be honest, because they were both talented quarterbacks and they both looked good when they could get protection. But they just got beat up so much that, they were essentially nervous Matt Ryan for the rest of their career. They always heard the steps. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they were seeing ghosts. So I think the organization definitely needs to look at themselves and be like, man, hopefully he can come back healthy and doesn't miss a step. But an injury like that, especially with a quarterback or an athlete like Joe Burrow, who relies on athleticism to be so successful, you might have damaged that a bit, because the knee injuries and soft tissue injuries aren't always a guaranteed comeback. So I would say they need to do some reflecting. All right. Moving on to really one of the biggest mismatches of the game. The Steelers went down to Jacksonville and just dominated them. I mean, everybody saw it coming. But the Steelers continued their march towards history. They moved to 10-0. The Jaguars fall to 1-9, still vying for that number one spot. Probably the most enjoyable game for me of the week was the Titans and Ravens. The Titans beat the Ravens for the third time in a row.
The Titans weren't that good, man.
Boy, and the Titans are like, so before the game, for those of you who don't know, I have a really good friend, and Micah knows him as well. We played Xbox with him for years. I've gone up to Baltimore to visit him. He's come down here to visit me. We did he came to our wedding. But he is a diehard Ravens fan, and he's probably one of the biggest homers you'll ever meet, though. And now that the Ravens are good Lord, he became annoying. Because it was like, oh, yeah, I bet you Falcons wish you had a front office like us and drafting Lamar Jackson, and we're just the best team ever, and blah, 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 blah. Look at this Ravens article. Look at this. This is how good we are. This is what my offseason consisted of this last 9 months. It's like, shut up. I know. You're good right now. You got really lucky that Lamar Jackson fell all the way down to you, and you made the move for him. You've always had a good defense. I get it. Shut up. And so now this season, as we're learning that Greg Roman is actually a really bad offensive coordinator, and Lamar Jackson probably is not as good as we thought he was, because, he is still limited in passing. And if you take away his scrambling ability, well, you're seeing games.
Mistakes.
Right. He will make mistakes. He still misses guys pretty bad, and he still can't really read a defense. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Just not. He can be Michael Vick, but a little bit better, but he absolutely needs to get better at quarterbacking. Still,
Michael Vick was like an underrated passer, and you know what I mean? He's not even on the level of Michael Vick was in terms of hitting his receivers.
I don't know. I think go ahead, Micah.
No, I mean, I actually agree with Marco. I think Vic took a lot of flack for things like, oh, he throws too hard. Well, I mean, but you didn't hear Elway's receivers complain when he was breaking their fingers. Favre, who openly said, I tried to throw it through the receiver every throw. I wanted to wow somebody every throw. Their receivers caught the ball. Ours didn't, but, Vic was, oh, he just throws too hard. I mean, there are times you want to put some touch on it, but, as a receiver, you get paid to catch the ball. Catch the damn ball.
Yeah, when Peerless Price and Roddy White can't, catch a ball to save their lives, and there's, you're listening to the radio and they're making jokes about how Roddy White's dropping his plate in the barbecue line.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of lets you know
I
what you
remember
got.
that.
Boy.
I still remember that.
All right. But the Titans wound up beating the Ravens in overtime as Derrick Henry rushes for his only touchdown of the game. Granted, the Ravens were shorthanded because they had COVID exposure with Brandon Williams. Calais Campbell was out, I believe. And then, the running backs didn't get held out until after. But the Titans were also shorthanded in a lot of important positions and a lot of players, and they still won in Baltimore, which is supposed to be one of the hardest places to win in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So the Titans are a damn good team, man. They are. I mean, just like I told him last year, in like week 4 of last year, I was like, look, if y'all match up against the Titans, be afraid because this team is good. They are a very, very talented team. Vrabel is an excellent coach. He's a player's coach, but he's also smart enough to be a good coach as well. He's really turned that organization around, and that it's cool to see. They're our neighbors to the north, and they're kind of like my second team. If I had to choose one, I've always had an interest in them, but they're really
you're a Steve McNair guy.
I really enjoyed Steve McNair. I loved Eddie George. I loved Dyson and who was their tight end? Wycheck.
Derek Mason.
Frank Wycheck. I'm even going back before.
Frank Wycheck.
Yeah. I mean, I loved that team. They were a fun team to watch when they first came in. But yeah, suck it, Brandon. Y'all got beat for the 3rd time in a row. Patriots get diced up by Deshaun Watson. The Patriots are just a up and down bad team.
Yeah, no surprises there.
They just don't have enough on defense. And if you give them a top pick, it's going to be scary to see what they do with them, especially when all those guys that opted out come back next year. Surprising game for me, the Broncos beat the Dolphins. Tua actually got pulled halfway through the game. Put
it's magic.
Fourth quarter.
Was it fourth quarter? It put Fitzy in
the fourth quarter because Magic gave a better chance to win.
Yeah, but they did say Tua is still their starter. This was just a chance for them to still win the game because they are vying for a playoff spot. They are in second place and chasing the Bills and chasing a wild card spot in the AFC. That defense is still really good. It's just, who's going to give them the best chance to win at quarterback? Because if you don't got a quarterback that can key in on your run,
yeah.
And that's not really how you win in the NFL. All right. Jets fall to 0-10 as they lose to the Chargers. This was the game of futility in the NFL. There was just 2 really bad teams going at it, and they lost 28-34. Really not much else to say except that Justin Herbert is really good, and I was really wrong on him. I thought he was going to be an awful NFL quarterback.
And he's your rookie of the year probably. But yeah, that goofy haircut did not take his powers away.
I still mess with my Chargers coworker, and I tell him, you would have won that game if Tyrod Taylor had started quarterback.
No, they definitely would have won.
You'd have won. You'd have won 17-10, but you would have won that game. Your defense would look a whole lot better with Tyrod at quarterback.
If Tyrod were the starting quarterback, they'd be 10-6, but somehow still miss the playoffs.
Oh, Tyrod. Poor guy. They actually asked Frank Gore after the game. They're like, hey, you're 0-10 right now, and it looks like you have a really good chance of going 0-16. How does it feel for this to be more than likely your last season? He's like, look, man, I can't go out on 0-16. I can't go out like that. So it's like, we're probably going to see another year of Frank Gore. The man's going to play till he's 50. He's going to be the Julio Franco of the NFL. Good God. It's like, does he have tax problems, or does he like Antonio Cromartie and have like 30 kids that we don't know about?
Or Adrian Peterson with his money problems. Now,
are they the same age? Who's older? Frank Gore. Frank Gore is definitely older than Adrian Peterson.
Right? Yeah, Frank Gore's older. Dirt.
Yeah, I think what it is, Frank Gore, I think they said he has like learning disabilities or something. So he knows like broadcast booth is probably out after his career. So it's like, let me play as long as I can until I absolutely cannot play anymore. And that's, as long as someone's willing to pay him,
I mean, the crazy thing is, if you were to take this back 20, 25 years, this wouldn't be unheard of because you had backs that were franchise backs that would play forever. They would just play on name alone.
Jerome Bettis.
Yeah. Emmitt Smith, when he went to the Cardinals, he was washed. He was washed by like 5 years. And the Cardinals like, yeah, bring him on. We got the all-time leading rusher.
It's Emmitt.
It's Emmitt.
But, at 37, we're like, oh my God, why is he still playing? Because, the shelf life of an NFL running back nowadays is like 5 years.
And it's just sort of sad to see him continually be on terrible teams. It's like there's no glory in keeping playing when you're just getting decimated.
Well, what blows my mind is I know Frank Gore's history in college, and the fact that he's blown out both knees in college, and he's still at 37. He is still going strong in the NFL. It's like, dude, what kind of knee replacement did you get? Like, did you get the titanium, the adamantium knees? Let me get the bionic knee set.
This actually isn't Frank Gore. This is a cyborg dressed in Frank Gore's skin.
Right, he has like clones. I mean, there's something about that Miami area, man.
There's something about that team in general that y'all put out such good running backs that they can play forever. This was a really, really fun game to watch. It actually came on. It was the game on after the Falcons went off. The Packers and the Colts played in a hell of a game. That game was so fun to watch. And the Colts
Blankenship.
Yeah. Rodrigo, did y'all see that meme that's going around? And it's like, this is why I love the NFL, because these two guys are actually play on the same field. And it's a picture of Rodrigo Blankenship, who's probably like 160 pounds, 170 pounds, soaking wet, and DK Metcalf
with the rec specs.
Boy.
Yep.
It's just like that is a good point about the NFL. You get everything. And then, you got guys that look like who's
Vince Wilfork?
Yeah, Vince Wilfork. It's like, Jesus, that's a mountain of a man.
Or Tom Brady looking like an average man.
Or Matt Ryan. Good God. Yeah. Matt Ryan looks like the goofiest motherfucker.
Like, I don't think Matt and Tom have any definition. Like, I wouldn't say that.
Matt Ryan, if you didn't know who he was, you'd think he was like an accountant or something.
Literally.
Right. Did you play point guard in high school?
So the Colts won in overtime 34-31. They go to 7-3. Packers fall to 7-3. And the best part of the whole game to me was after they won, Phillip Rivers was yelling to the other sideline at Aaron Rodgers, just talking shit. I would love to be on the field at the same time as Phillip Rivers. That's probably got to be one of the funniest things in the world, because it's like, when people are good at talking shit, it's like you're kind of like, unless you're not versed in it, you're kind of like, it would suck to be on the field at the same time as Shannon Sharp. You'd just be like, this is awful. I want to stop playing. I don't want to ever play sports again. I get it. I'm bad, Shannon. Leave me alone.
Be infuriated.
But being on the field at the same time as Phillip Rivers has got to be comical. Absolutely comical. I don't know if I know some of y'all have, but I don't know if our listeners, if you ever want to get a good laugh, just go on YouTube and look up Phillip Rivers trash talking. And it just doesn't make sense. It's not traditional trash talking. He's just saying some of the weirdest things to the other team. And you're like, does he?
Flag nabbing fundler?
Well, even not even his made up words, since he doesn't curse, but just like things he says to them. Like what he's talking about and pointing out. Go ahead, Micah.
But here's what's it with Indianapolis Colts signing these quarterbacks who don't curse at all?
That's the reason they sign them, because they're Indianapolis. They're a good city, Micah. They're a wholesome
go
city.
you go from Andrew Luck, who said like hell or damn in an interview and looked like he malfunctioned.
Sorry. I apologize.
And then to dang it, fling it,
Flag damn it. Who are you?
Oh man.
Then we go to Cowboys versus Vikings. Cowboys beat the Vikings 31-28. They actually had the Red Rocket back in at quarterback, so maybe we see a different Cowboys team here instead of this pile of ineptitude that they've been putting up. As we mentioned earlier, Chiefs beat the Raiders 35-31. They get their revenge after they lose the first game. And then my favorite part of the whole week was the Buccaneers lost to the Rams, mainly because Tom Brady looked bad. And Tom Brady throws 2 interceptions, one of them being the game ender. And then he pouts to the middle. Well, actually, he pouts, does not go to the middle of the field to shake Jared Goff's hand, and sulks off the field. So that gets us out of our recap and into our next section. What do you guys think about Tom Brady? Granted, he is extremely competitive. He watches more film than anybody. He's arguably the GOAT, although Micah will tell you differently because Joe Montana saw John Candy on the sideline during the Super Bowl. And
Boys, baby.
What do y'all view about this? Like, how does this make you view Tom Brady? Because this isn't the first time he's done it. He's done it quite a few times. And I think quite unfairly, he gets a pass in the media, whereas people like Cam Newton, who just lost the Super Bowl and doesn't want to answer a question because he just wants to go, lose and not be bothered and just, mentally recap and heal.
He probably cried after that, but it's understandable.
Right. Yeah. I hell yeah. You just lost the Super Bowl.
I mean, like I said, he probably cried after that game, but it's definitely understandable. I'm not gonna knock him for that.
Yeah. So do you think Brady is fairly judged?
No. Brady always gets a pass. Everything.
Why?
He's the golden boy. He's he is the prototype for he'd be like one of Hitler's like prototypes basically. But on a serious note though, but he's the big tall, he's the picture of the ideal quarterback of that the archaic minds love to have. He's insanely smart, makes the right throws. He's not a runner, and that's so they give him, he's married to a supermodel, so they give him passes on stuff that other folks, especially more I don't want to say flamboyant, but other folks with big personalities can't get passes on.
Marco, and I've got it. Marco, what do you think?
I think that, just this is like your typical, trust fund kid. It looks like, and not to say that he's that. I'm not talking about his upbringing. I'm talking about his NFL experience. Like, he's always been in such a privileged situation playing under Bill Belichick that a lot of these things that he probably has done before get insulated, and then we just don't look at him. But now that he's in this Buccaneers situation and he's out here looking what's the word, looking
not quite himself,
underprivileged, and then he tries to pull that trust fund stuff, and everybody's like, oh, what a dick. Like, go, like, stop disrespecting these young quarterbacks. We understood that you just threw the game-losing pick because you're washed, and you want to go over there and pout on the bench and run to the locker room and cry. But, go shake a hand. Be a freaking man at 40-something, however old you are. Be a man and go shake the hand of a, dude who just hands you hell.
Okay, so I was going a different direction I'll ask a follow-up question. We've already seen that Cam Newton didn't get that pass, but do you think if, let's say, Michael Vick had done this in the past, or Tyrod Taylor did it now, or Russell Wilson does it now, do you think they would get the same pass in the media?
Hell no.
Well, I'd say I wouldn't necessarily say it's a racial thing, because I think if Jay Cutler did it, he'd get shit too. Like, because they used to dog him for his facial expressions on the sideline.
Jay Cutler is a different beast, though. He had that persona following.
I mean, there's definitely a racial component to it, and they'd be out here calling them classless and all this kind of stuff. They definitely would. So yeah, I'm gonna say yeah, definitely.
I definitely think there's a racial component to it for sure.
But I also think it's a Tom Brady component, just because they just love his balls in their mouth so much that they're not gonna, they don't want to miss an opportunity to maybe interview him 20 years from now. Because he'll remember. Oh, you called me you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that to them, he can do no wrong. He's the GOAT, unquestioned. Even it's just with like you said, with all those quarterbacks you mentioned, that would be something they'd hold against them. But against him, it's just his competitive drive. And it's like, it goes back to that different standards I talked about earlier. You hold people at different standards.
Yeah, agreed. And I think he gets an unfair standard in a lot of cases, but some of it is earned as well. So in other crybaby news, we had more news, and I was showing Nicole this the other day. One of my favorite things to do recently is to go to Takk McKinley's Instagram page. And you know how people do all over Instagram. It's like, oh, I used to live here, then here. They put that little airplane emoji. It's like from Minnesota, airplane, New York City. Right now, Takk McKinley's actually, let me pull it up so I can say this accurately. But as a lot of a lot of our listeners know that we drafted Takk McKinley and recently cut him. And then he went to Cincinnati, or they picked him up on waiver wire. He failed his physical. Then the 49ers picked him up and he failed the physical. And now, just recently, just like they did the week before, 2 weeks ago, they picked up another former first-round defensive end Atlanta Falcons draft pick. So right now, his Instagram profile has his son's initials, and then it says Cali, airplane emoji, ATL, airplane emoji, Cincinnati, airplane emoji, San Fran, airplane emoji, Las Vegas. So it's hard to kind of see there because it won't focus on it, but y'all can. But ever since he got cut by the Falcons for the little tirade, and he got what he wanted, essentially, he deleted he had his post still, and then he went to Cincinnati and got humbled and failed his physical, and then he erased all his social media stuff, essentially. So hopefully this is a big case of humble pie for him. I'm of the camp that I think that he didn't want to play for either of those teams, because when he's from the Bay Area and he's an Oakland fan, and I think he knew they had interest in him, and I think he failed those things on purpose, those physicals. But that's just me.
I wouldn't put it past him, just knowing his petulance. He's proven to be nothing but like a big spoiled kid at this point. So I'm gonna get my way.
I personally have a different perspective. I think he's looking out here looking like James the Grim Reaper Roper from the Great White Hype, and he's been eating ice cream and pizza since he got cut, and he's got that gut. He's out of shape, and that's why he can't pass his physical. Hey, do this stress test. Run for 5 minutes in place.
So you think he's gonna not pass this one either?
Yeah, I think he'll fail this one too. Even though he is a Raiders fan, but
they moved. So what happened was they moved Vic Beasley to their practice squad and officially signed him. So I think he passed.
huh?
Which is crazy that you bring in Takk McKinley and move Vic Beasley to your practice squad.
Damn,
Yeah.
Vic.
Because
How the mighty have fallen.
in terms of productivity over the last couple of years, Vic has been far more productive.
Well, you know what that does mean though for us, right? If we wanted to, we could sign him off their practice squad and very cheap.
That is true. We could do that. I didn't even think about that. All right. That pretty much does it for the NFL. That ends the NFL segment of the Grits Blitz. Micah, you want to talk about your dogs and what they did this past weekend?
Let's take a break real quick.
You want to do a break before we finish off the football segment?
Yeah.
Or do you just want to finish football?
I got to piss, so let's take a break.
Okay. Well,
college, then baseball, and do we still have baseball talk? That'd be pretty brief.
Well, I mean, this
baseball's like that big.
Yeah, so let's just do college, baseball, and basketball in the second half. That's cool.
Okay. All right. Well, we shall take a break. We'll be back in a little bit before Micah pees his pants. Micah, you can go because they don't know. Go run before you.
I mean, just piss everywhere.
Too late.
Just go right now, Micah. Where it's a podcast, no one can see.
Like R. Kelly.
All right, we'll be back. All right, guys, we're done with our break. Micah barely made it to the bathroom, preventing a blowout. He thought he had to pee. Nope. So that was our NFL segment. We are now going to move it on down to college football, and we're going to let Micah talk about his dogs. His dogs.
It's the dog pound.
And what they did this past week and what he saw and how did that make him feel? All right, Micah, the floor is yours.
So this past week in college football. So there was
NFL films?
college football. The UGA Bulldogs. So the Georgia Bulldogs played a Mississippi State team who looked better against us than anybody. They definitely took us down to the wire. And Georgia fans had buttholes puckered up because it was a scary game for us. But in brighter news, Kirby Smart finally let JT Daniels, gave him the nod to start, and the kid looks legit. I mean, granted, it's just one game, but in a game where we had 8 rushing yards, they held our running game to 8 yards, and so we needed every bit of the 400 yards and 4 touchdowns that he threw for. And I mean, he started out a little shaky, but you could tell once he got comfortable, kid was he was diming it up. It was beautiful throw after beautiful throw. Matter of fact, he could have had more than that because there were several dimes that he threw that our receivers just dropped. But I mean, he made great decisions. The excuse that Kirby Smart used was, granted he did have to get cleared for his knee. I think after week 2.
He didn't take the brace off until after the Tennessee game, so we didn't want to consider him until we knew he was completely healthy.
Yeah. It was he used the excuse that We didn't know where his knee was, and even though he looks good in practice, we weren't sure how good he was in an actual game, and so on and so forth. But they finally gave him a shot, and it's like, what were we waiting for?
I just want to applaud him for being able to handle this in a situation where everybody can't handle anything because COVID's going on right now.
I think JT Daniels is better than every other quarterback we have combined, and so once again, it puts us Kirby just looks terrible. I mean, it's like, dude, outside of recruiting, what do you offer the school? Because right now I'm seeing Mark Richt 2.0, except with better recruiting. That's it. Just bad decision after bad decision. And you've gone from a legitimate shot to contend to now, I mean, we're not even going to win the SEC East, let alone, trying to contend for a championship. So, I'm just glad we now know what JT Daniels is, and he still has another year of eligibility at least. Well, another 2 years of eligibility at least. No, just one. He's got at least one more. Yeah, but I mean, I'm just glad we found out now that what we have. So, but that is just it's absolutely frustrating. Brian, I know you saw it.
What's interesting, I do want to say, is that I know leading up to like the prior weeks coming into this game, like, because DJ Shockley always goes on the radio and he talks with the guys at 92.9 about like what he sees in practice. And there was never really an indication that JT Daniels just didn't look ready because of his health. What Shockley kept saying was that he didn't look ready because he just wasn't good. And I'm like, wait, what? I just
I've noticed there is a portion of Bulldog fan base that when a quarterback doesn't get to play that fans think they should play, I think they downplay how good they are. Like when Justin Fields was in Georgia and fans who wanted to see him play questioned, like, hey, why aren't you giving him a shot to at least see what he can do?
Can't learn the playbook. You can't learn it.
Exactly. There was there was somebody voices, oh yeah, well, he doesn't know the playbook and so on and so forth. Then he gets up to Ohio State with a completely different playbook in less time and just balls out, gets him in the play, it leads him to the playoffs. So it's like, is that really the problem, or is this some way to cover up for the shortcomings of coaching and their making bad decisions?
I think Kirby Smart is a horrible judge of talent at quarterback. There's always those couple of positions that each coach doesn't do a great job at, really scouting, or, maybe not quite getting it right. And another person who was like that for the longest time was Saban. Saban really didn't, have a great quarterback until recently, honestly. Like Tua, before that he had like Jalen Hurts wasn't even that great for him. But
I think that's for a different reason though.
Like Jimbo Fisher honestly could not scout offensive line to save his life.
Yeah.
I mean, he could get you every other position, but the guys he brought in the offensive line, it was like, they may be good.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Saban's misfiring at quarterbacks was more of like a philosophy thing, where like he wanted to play a certain kind of way, but then the game evolved him and then he adapted. Like we said last week, he went and got a quarterback that can hit the open receiver.
Well, maybe that's the same thing with Kirby then.
Well, I think with Jalen could do it. Like when you saw him in Oklahoma, you saw he can run a conventional offense. I just think, it like you said, he was kind of an archaic thinking, trying to make Jalen's skill set fit his idea of an efficient offense. And that's, we need a game manager quarterback. We're going to run the ball and we're going to dominate the line of scrimmage. And that's how we're going to control games. We just need you to make the throws that need to be made. And, teams are starting to challenge that. And unlike Kirby, Saban was willing to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know what, let's open it up a little bit. Let's expand and start to utilize these quarterbacks and, try to maximize their potential as passers, as well as, and it makes the running part easy because you can get more balance. You makes it easier to create more balance. So
Right. And I think it's easy to say, okay, well, he might have been hurt, so that's why Kirby didn't go with him. But I think the case in point for Kirby's lack of decision making with regards to the quarterback position is how he tried to use Justin Fields as like a battering ram. Like he tried to use him as like a running quarterback when he clearly has a better arm than Jake Fromm. And there's never been a time when that wasn't the case.
Better decision maker.
Better decision maker. Like even watching the YouTube series, the QB1 series, Justin Fields was going head to head with Trevor Lawrence. And there's a question of whether he's as good as Jake Fromm. Like, please.
Well, it's funny though, because my boss is also, he's a UGA alum and a Georgia fan. And I was talking to him the other day about it. And he was like, like that. We went back to the LSU game 3 years ago or 2 years ago or whatever. Mm-hmm. And from like their defense figured Fromm out. They shut anything he did down. So we started to put Fields in running just zone reads legitimately. That's all we ran from 20 to 20 and 3-4 plays in the red zone. And then as soon as we get in the red zone, they take him right back out and put Fromm in, where we proceeded to stall out every time. And it's like, really? You can't let this kid throw the ball? Is it like going to hurt? Is it going to break Fromm's confidence if you just say, hey, Jake, this guy's got the hot hand this game. We're going to see if he can get us back in this game, but you're still our starter.
Yeah.
I just
you didn't even have to be conditional with him. Like, you just got to be frank with him. It's like, listen, Jake, you're not as good as this kid, so we're benching you. You're not still our starter. Like, that's his problem.
I mean,
he wanted to be way too, like, he tried to assuage his ego way too much. It's like sometimes you just got to go with what's better. Like,
Grant, I mean, I like I said, I agree with that to an extent, but I also understand Jake Fromm as a true freshman led your team to a national championship game. So and played fairly well for most of that game. So I mean, I get you're thinking that like this guy could potentially get us back there, but in that scenario, like I said, in that game in particular, the difference is Saban in a big moment wasn't afraid to say this guy's not this quarterback isn't going to work. They've got him figured out. Let me try this other guy. And he made a change and boom, it wound up winning him a damn national championship. So it's like the LSU game. Just go with Fields. And if he brings you back in the game, then you can say, all right, well, maybe we'll consider a quarterback change full time, but we definitely just needed it for that game. Change the pace.
Hindsight, was it really Jake Fromm that led him to the title, or was it their two NFL running backs that decided to come back for their senior season?
It was a combination, because they were the predominant predominant force on offense, but Fromm did make some really great throws. Like in the national championship
Fromm
game,
is trash.
he dropped a dime on Mecole Hardman for an 80-yard touchdown. I mean, hit him in stride down the sideline. So
His NFL receiver.
Yeah. But I'm just saying it's still. I mean, but to hit a receiver that fast in stride is something Matt Ryan can't do. So is it? Yeah, it wasn't 100%. It wasn't like he gets a very small fraction of it, but he was a key role because it was either him or Jacob Eason, and we knew
I think Jacob Eason could have done the same thing.
He was a gunslinger.
Yeah, I mean,
all
right.
So
hold on, that game that I saw, it was versus LSU last year. I can't remember, where Fromm had to lead them on a comeback and essentially throw them down the field, and dude missed open read after open read after open read after open read on that drive. That's when I knew. I was like, this man's not the answer.
Well, no. Like, here's the thing. That season, his true freshman season, to me was his best season. It was like a kid with no pressure. He was just like, I'm out here. Anything I do, is
these NFL players are gonna make up for it.
And well, nah. I think after that, the higher the expectation became on him, the less and less he actually came through. It was like the more pressure, the worse his performance was, especially that last season when the pressure was real high and you were looking at potentially being one of the top quarterbacks going into the draft, and you played your worst football of your college career in your junior season. So, I mean, that's just my take on it.
And now he's a backup in Buffalo. So he gets to not play football and stand in like 10-degree weather with snow.
He's like third on the depth chart there.
Yeah.
But other college football news, we're going to go to the ACC. So apparently FSU and Clemson have had a little issue between the two of them. Ryan, you want to go on a little more in depth on that one?
Yeah, fuck Dabo Swinney. I used to have the most respect for him before this season. Like, I think after they won that last national championship, he, as far as currency, like what have you done for me lately? Dabo was the best coach in college football. If we're talking about the entire career, obviously it's still Nick Saban. But right now, as far as recruiting, developing players, and winning, Dabo Swinney to me is the best college football head coach. And I was like, man, he's just a really good guy. He's probably great to play for because that's what everyone says. Like Grady and Vic were constantly talking about how great he was. D-Hop always says that. And actually, D-Hop has a weird relationship with Clemson, but that's a long story. And then this season happened. And I don't know if it's a mix of Dabo's obvious conservatism or if a little bit of his ego got to him. But this season has really shed some light on how just really not that great of a person Dabo is. And his approach to the entire COVID thing. He was one of the first to talk about herd immunity and just let your players go out there and get sick, and then you'll be good down the road. And he just kind of operated, as if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, and was kind of negligent to a lot of the rules they put out. And then, they obviously this last week when they lost to Notre Dame, or the week before last when they lost to Notre Dame, they had to sit Trevor Lawrence because of this, and he kind of alluded to not being too happy about that because he's like, Trevor Lawrence, he looks healthy. He can do everything. But, we have to play without our best guy. And then this week happened. Clemson tested a player. He came back positive. He's not one of their bigger players, but he's someone that sees the field enough and plays, is on the team. And they continued to play him through practice the entire week, even after testing positive. They knew this. They relayed this information to Florida State. Florida State said, well, you're supposed to quarantine them, and he certainly shouldn't be coming to the game. Have you done contact tracing as to who he's been around? Clemson said, no. Have you quarantined him since? Clemson said, no. Is he going to come down on the trip? Surely not, right? Yeah, he is.
He's here.
He's actually here now. And Florida State said, so you want us to still play you? And Clemson said, yeah. Are you going to quarantine him now? No. And so Florida State said, well, we're not playing you then. If this is how you're going to treat the situation, we're not risking the exposure. And Florida State told Clemson they wouldn't play them unless they followed the regulations out there and actually did something about this. And Clemson said, no, we're good. You should still play us or forfeit. And Florida State said, well, we're not playing, but we're certainly not forfeiting either. And Clemson has made a big stink about this, mainly Dabo Swinney. And he's continued to take shots at us and continue to say things about us forfeiting because we didn't want to play them because we were scared. And it was like we were like avoiding them because we were, bad this year, which granted, Clemson would have stomped a mud hole in us. We are very shorthanded. We're in transition to another coach. Our talent just is not as good as we thought it was. And we have not been a good team this year. We were going to lose that game, and we were going to lose big. But we also did not want to risk our players. We were, at the beginning of the season, kind of negligent ourselves. We let a lot of fans in. You had the sideline shots of all the students in the stands not wearing masks. You had, them doing the chop and doing all these things, and players on the field and all that type of stuff. And we caught flack for it, and then we adjusted. We were like, all right, you look, we get it. That was bad. Our coach got COVID. And we made our adjustments. And now Clemson's just kind of like, man, we don't care. So this entire COVID situation has really exposed Dabo to me and how he cares more about winning than he does about the health of young men and especially young players and especially his own. It's rather shocking and quite appalling to me that he does this because there are still people dying and the pandemic is getting worse. It's just dumb people. Just because you're over COVID doesn't mean COVID is over.
Yeah.
Real. Quotable.
Yeah, exactly.
Bars.
Bars. I'll give you a full 32.
I think you said I think you probably spoke for both Marco and for me on that one because it's really shocking. Dabo, think of him as a good guy, but this is frustrating.
He lost me during the draft with Deshaun where he was like, yo, this guy's MJ. And then the very next season, he's like, Trevor, this is the best player I've ever seen in my life.
Deshaun's like, huh?
All right. So, and the last thing I wanted to touch in college football is the rankings were dropped. And so they dropped the rate. Well, is it still BCS or whatever? But
it's just the
playoff rankings. And as of right now, you have Bama at number 1, which is very not shocking at all because
Bama's
are
first.
they are they're undamn believable. Number 2 is the real shocker, Notre Dame. Lou Holtz is at home with COVID.
These guys are
Notre
so
Dame,
good.
this Notre Dame team is just so amazing. Notre Dame is going to win the national championship this year. So, at 3, you have the COVID Clemsons.
COVID Clemson.
And
Clemson
at
19.
4, Clemson 19. And at 4, you have Justin Fields and the Ohio State University. And so, I don't know how Ohio State is behind Clemson right now
because of just four games.
And they played nobody. And I told you about Indiana.
Yeah.
That was a comeback though, but Fields is a beast.
Some of the
but
Ohio State play calling towards the end of that game was like, what are y'all doing? They were trying to let them back in that game.
Indiana's a good team though. They really are.
They are. No doubt.
But I think that's the pick of, if it remains this way, which I doubt it will, because eventually Clemson might have to play Notre Dame in an ACC championship or something. Then
what do you think would happen in that scenario? Do you think that if Clemson loses again, that they wouldn't still put them in there? I think they would.
With Trevor Lawrence, I doubt they lose again. Right. I mean, DJ, I can not pronounce his last name, but he's good, but he's not as consistent, and he's not as polished as Trevor Lawrence is right now. So
I'll say that I think it's disrespectful that BYU with their NFL quarterback only got a 14, and they're behind they're behind 3 2-loss teams. I don't know how the hell Georgia's still a top 10 team. That's ridiculous.
Bias.
Miami sitting at number 10. Yeah, bias. And Cincinnati, I mean, I understand that they never want to give them credit because they don't really play anybody, but that's a good team. And the projected matchup right now is Georgia versus Cincinnati in the Peach Bowl. So that'd be an interesting game.
That'd be a hell of a game to watch.
Yeah.
But not if JT Daniels is what we saw this last week, they would stomp Cincinnati.
Yeah. But that defense is legit for Cincinnati, and Georgia's defense has proven they're not so legit anymore.
I don't know what happened to them.
Injuries. I think LeCount is that important to the defense. I think he is the leader.
Motorcycles never lose.
And the motorcycle, and so that hurts. There's some injuries on the defensive side of the ball, but for the most part, I mean, that Mississippi State offense, Mike Leach is a very good offensive mind. And the problem was, and we took a game plan that other teams ran against them and were successful with, and that was rush 3 and drop 8 in coverage. So Mike Leach just told their quarterback, all right, stop looking downfield. We're just going to take what they're going to give us, dink and dunk. And they did that to perfection against us. So, they adjusted. And, that's why I'm like, stop trying to play what everybody else does. Do what we do best. And, but it is what it is.
I just want to talk about something on Ohio State.
Yeah.
And it's after you beat Marcus Teague and Jeff Teague, you have to face the Ohio State running back, and that's Master Teague. When I first saw that, I was like, what? It's their younger brother, the youngest brother who's perfected martial arts, karate, and now he's Master Teague.
Master Teague.
Or he's like a giant rat.
That was a good one. That was good.
Oh, man. So and that settles it for the NCAA.
Notre Dame's better than you think.
You think so?
No, they're not.
They're scrappier than you think.
Their offensive line is so good. So good.
Their offensive line is very good, but the rest of that team is not as good.
Their running back's really good.
I could see like Ian Book being a champion this year, just like that scrappy kid who everybody counts out walking away with.
He reminds me of Brady Quinn.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, definitely.
He's better than Brady Quinn.
Is he?
He reminds me of Brady Quinn.
He throws better than Brady Quinn. I mean, Brady Quinn was a damn good college quarterback.
He was a Heisman, wasn't he?
No,
he was a Heisman finalist. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
all right. But yeah. So.
Thus commences the layup. I use that right this time. It was 2 episodes in a row where I said commences.
I know. I couldn't let it pass the second time.
So this is the layup, aka the finger roll, aka jelly time, aka points in the paint. And with the NFL season bearing down on us with a late December start, there's been a lot of action and movement in the league. And even with this being a relatively weak free agent class, there's still been a lot of huge movements in the league. So let's get right into this thing. So today, straight off the presses, there's been 2 5-year extensions to some major players in the league. The first being Brandon Ingram of the New Orleans Pelicans, the sixth man of the year. No, not sixth man, the MIP of the year, most improved player of the year. And then we got Bam Adebayo, one of the main reasons why Miami Heat made it all the way to the final, especially in that Boston series. And they've both been locked down for 5 years for inordinate amounts of money. So let me ask y'all this. And let me also add that the Heat picked up Avery Bradley, and we're going to get down here to a couple more moves that the Pelicans made as well. But with these 2 signings, which of these 2 teams do you think is going to, keep that trajectory, going to have a better trajectory going forward, Ryan?
What was the second team? I missed it.
It was Bam Adebayo re-signing with the Heat for 5 years.
So the 2 finals teams.
And then Brandon Ingram signing with the
Pelicans.
With the Pelicans.
Oh, gotcha. So I missed both of them. I thought I heard Lakers. My bad. Which has the higher trajectory?
Yeah, like, okay, so let's say like the Heat making it back to the finals or the Pelicans just being a generally a better team. Like, who do you think is going to?
I think if we were to, move the Pelicans to the East, they'd be a top 3 team. They're really, really good. Even after losing Drew, they're still a very good team. Like BI is a young star. He's probably going to take an even bigger, not an even bigger, but he's going to probably jump to the next level this year. He was almost there this last season. Dude's just a stud and is actually highly underrated on defense. Then you got, is Lonzo gonna be something? And then you've got probably the most exciting player in a long, long time in Zion. It's just, can he stay healthy? So if they are healthy, they are definitely, in my opinion, they have a higher ceiling. We've already seen what we think the Heat ceiling is, unless Tyler Hero and someone else. Bam obviously played out of his mind this entire last season. Jimmy took it to another level in the playoffs. Tyler stepped up and really showed what he could be. It's just they need one more person to really, take that one last step for them to, possibly win a championship out of the East. But I just have a feeling they're going to be worn out. That team is just going to be gassed. They gave so much this last run here that we'll probably see them take a step back for a little while. Unless Jimmy is just actually, excuse me, unless Jimmy is actually a cyborg. But I would say the Pelicans probably have a higher trajectory this season. They're a little more rested.
I don't think Jimmy's left his cryogenic chamber the whole time he's been. I don't think he's left.
Jimmy actually hasn't left Disney World and is still dribbling in that room as we speak at 3 a.m.
It's like haunted with the ghost of Jimmy's basketball.
Jimmy, you can leave now. Everyone else has gone. Nah.
No family, just basketball. Micah, same question. Higher ceiling between those two.
First of all, I believe Jimmy Butler is Kawhi Leonard with personality. That's pretty much what Jimmy Butler is. It's just this robot like.
He's a superstar. He just said it. He's a superstar with personality. Micah just said it.
How did I say?
That's what you said. I heard.
Said he's Kawhi Leonard.
That's that Trump spin.
Is Kawhi Leonard a superstar?
No, that's what you said. I heard you, Micah. I heard you.
No, I mean personality. That basketball. All he does is basketball, and yeah, he just has more personality.
He is Kawhi Leonard, so that means he is a superstar.
No, that doesn't. That's not what I take from that. But whatever. The spin, the Trump spin cycle is on right now.
Everybody, we're gonna put up a poll.
We should.
But now, but personally, I think Pelicans. I think the Pelicans. I won't say they have the higher ceiling, but I don't think the Heat will make it out of the East this year. I think the East has gotten pretty big upgrades. There are a few teams with some pretty big upgrades. Not to mention, Brooklyn has a walking bucket, a 7-foot walking bucket in KD comeback, a true superstar. So that's going to, now granted, my question on Brooklyn is how much will Kyrie hold them back? But for the most part, I think the East has gotten a little bit stronger. But the West, while still the stronger conference, I do think there's enough talent on the Pelicans roster that one, not only will I think they'll make the playoffs, but two, they can potentially be a team that can go second round. I don't think they're quite good enough I think they're too young to make it like to the Western Conference Finals to beat some of these more talented teams. But if they played the Clippers in a first round series, I think they could beat the Clippers.
I mean, underrated. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead, go for it.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say because I take Brandon Ingram over PG-13 at this point. So what were you gonna say, Ryan?
I was gonna say, granted, we knew they got Eric Bledsoe in that trade, who's still really good. He's atrocious in the playoffs, but I think one of the most underrated moves they made was getting Steven Adams.
Yep.
That's a hell of a move because Steven Adams doesn't get the recognition as how good of a center he actually is. And if y'all remember when Marlon was on, he was really talking about how good Steven Adams is. And he just does what you need him to do, and he does it excellent.
That's excellent. Like the IG post is like there's going to be some dead bodies trying to fight through these screens with Steven Adams and Zion.
Boy.
He's just the only thing with Steven Adams is he's not a scorer.
You don't need to be.
Well, no, I'm just saying, it's that I think that was one of the reasons why OKC was looking to get rid of him because, offensively, he's a screen guy. He can set screens, but he's not going to offer you more than, some cleanup buckets, essentially.
I don't know. It was weird when you were defending OKC, but I think the reason OKC is getting rid of him is because they're trying to get rid of everything.
But I think part of the reason, when they are rebuilding from the top to bottom, but I think one of the problems they had with them is they want a more versatile center, somebody who can stretch the floor a little bit, who can shoot a little bit,
and you're not going to get that from Steven Adams.
At this point, they want anything. That's what they want. They want a draft pick. That's what they want. But just in terms of my answer to this question, I agree that it's the Pelicans. I do think the Heat sort of topped out. We've seen sort of the max of what that squad can be, and with them locking him down for another 5 years, just like the Pelicans have with BI. I just think it's going to be more of the same, maybe a couple more conference finals appearances. Whereas the Pelicans in 5 years, we might see them in the finals. You know what I mean? If Zion can stay healthy, if, like I said, Steven Adams is there, even Eric Bledsoe, that's a good, is he going to, well, Lonzo will probably be their starting point guard. I'm trying to think who's going to be their starting point guard. Probably
Lonzo.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
that's the reason they got rid of Drew to really clear the way.
So I really do think their ceiling is higher, and out of this 5-year extension, theirs is gonna be a lot more fruitful than Miami's might be. Did you have something else to say, Ryan?
Okay.
All right. So the next move was Montrezl. Montrezl, he got on IG and he pump faked his team, and he pump faked the Clippers because he was like, I am flying back to LA today. And then within the hour, he had signed with the Lakers instead of the Clippers. And he had some post on IG, which was sort of like, they asked him, were the Clippers planning on re-signing you? And he said, not if I went to the other side. And I was like, wait, what does that mean? Like that, I don't, I think the Clippers were genuinely shocked here by this. And so I want to ask y'all, Micah first, what does this do to the dynamic of the Lakers that are already sort of a shooting challenge team who did re-sign Pope and Morris, by the way? Pope was probably one of their unsung heroes of the finals. Like, how do you think this, makes them better or worse? Or what do you think? Just tell me what you think about this, Mike Diesel.
I think it's a good, tough, you get a tough, like grinder of a player. I mean, he is a bully, good defensive player. He's a bully. He's really tough. He's athletic. My only question is, is he going to get in better shape? Because what we saw in the bubble is a guy who legitimately, when he hit the 15-minute mark, he hit a wall. And he's just like, I'm like, bro, come on, man. I like me, I'm out of shape. But, if I hit the 15-minute mark, I'm not looking like I'm about to die out on the court, bro. You are an NBA athlete, bro. Come on, man. But like, what'd you say?
I don't know. If you threw me out there for 15 minutes in a basketball game, I'd probably look like that right now.
Oh, I mean, trust me. I'd be tired, but like I still remember one game where they called a foul and he legitimately just walked off the court.
I remember that.
He was just like, I've hit 16 minutes. He walked off the court and Doc Rivers had to sub somebody in. Because it's like, wait, where are you going?
To his credit, he didn't even really get to practice. Like his first basketball after the quarantine break was that game. Like those games.
Yeah, but you would think that someone with that kind of defensive intensity, with someone who played with the intensity that he did, would still be in good enough shape where he wouldn't, like 15 minutes, be like, oh, like about to keel over. He's so tired.
Right.
I don't think it's really going to hurt him that much because Trezor, I mean, they operated this way with Dwight Howard. Essentially, this is their Dwight Howard replacement. He's not as big, but he's going to take what Dwight Howard was getting in minutes. He's coming off the bench. He's going to be, he'll come on with AD. He'll fill that role, and very similar to what he did with the Clippers. He, was the leading scorer for the second unit. That's what he's going to do here. I don't think you're going to have to worry about him, getting spreading the court because he will be their inside option for when he's on the court. So I don't think it really hurts them at all. I think it makes them better because you now get rid of Dwight Howard, who averaged like 7 or 8 points a game. I'll have to look, maybe low double digits, and replace it with like 20 points a game with Trezor. Like, it only makes them better in my eyes.
You still think they're champion favorites?
Oh God, yeah. Anytime you got Braun, you're still out there to, favored to win it all. With that much talent, him and AD, and now you add what they've already added. Only thing that's going to hurt him is Rondo, in my opinion.
It makes them a little bit smaller though on defense.
They went small in the playoffs.
Well, but I mean, you still had Dwight and JaVale who could, when you played bigger teams, you could match up with the like Denver. You could match up with Denver because you had Dwight and JaVale who are extremely long and can contest, Jokic's shot. And what can muscle with Jokic?
Well, I mean,
Jokic was eating Harold's lunch.
JaVale's minutes are now gone essentially because they just signed Marc Gasol.
Yeah, they traded JaVale to Cleveland, I think.
Oh, did he?
Oh,
I missed
God.
that part.
Yeah.
Sorry, JaVale. LeBron was like, "Thanks for your service. Go to Cleveland."
That's like the Siberia of basketball right now.
I mean, good
and
Lord.
Tristan left, and he's a Celtic now.
Ooh, that's a great move. But Marc Gasol is a huge addition for the Lakers. They're even better than last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I agree with you that. Yeah, man, it's just not fair. I don't know why the GOAT needs so much damn help, but he gets it. And let's keep moving. So a lot of trades have been going on. We can sort of steamroll through these, and I just want to know which of these y'all think probably made the best. We already talked about the Pelicans. They acquired Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, and some picks moved. Milwaukee Bucks get Drew Holiday, Sam Merrill. I don't really know who that is. OKC picked up George Hill. Like I said, they're just, bombing that franchise. And the Denver Nuggets get RJ Hampton, which is pretty much a better version of that fool who was that dude? Who was that young dude they had out there on their team who they kept trying to give minutes who could not shoot at all? Who was that?
On the Nuggets?
Morris?
What was I forget? He was like was it Dozier?
Backup point guard?
He was like a shooting guard. He's a shooting guard who could not shoot.
Gary Harris, you had.
It was a young guy.
You got a lot.
Campazano, Dozier, Morris.
Yes, Dozier. Yeah, Dozier. They put him out there. He was like an energy guy, but he could not shoot worth a lick. And RJ Hampton's pretty much a better version of that. So we don't really have to say who won this, but let's just narrow it down to these two. Who did a better job, the Pelicans or the Bucks? Because Thunder and Nuggets aren't really.
Pelicans.
Yeah, Pelicans
for sure. Then in other news, Christian Wood, the promising young talent from Detroit, is now a Rocket. So it remains to be seen whether he's actually going to play with James Harden or where James Harden is going to land when the dust settles. And another guy who shined in the playoffs with the Nuggets, he was actually traded to Detroit for cash. So, good luck to them where they're going. All right. So in other news, the Hornets, man, are our division. I wouldn't say rival, but our division mates. The Hornets drafted LaMelo Ball and instantly saw their ticket sales increase exponentially. I forget the actual figure because how Instagram is. You'll see a post and it just disappears. I think it was like something like 70% or something like that. And they also, now that they saw this, reinvigorated feeling for this team, they shot their shot at the best free agent available outside of AD, of course, and she said yes. Gordon Hayward agreed. She said yes. I don't mean like that. I'm not taking shots at Gordon. It was a part. It brought home the whatever that is. Gordon Hayward agreed to a 4-year, $120 million deal after opting out of a $34.2 million contract. Just taking a slight $4.2 million cut. And the injury-plagued Gordon just got a $120 million deal. What was MJ thinking about this signing? These are the questions. What was MJ thinking with this signing? And B, should we be worried about the Hornets vulturing a playoff spot from us this year? Let's go Micah first.
No. What was MJ thinking? I need ticket sales. Anybody, please. Any name free agent. Gordon Hayward. Somebody, please save us. We are trash. We need these Charlotte fans to come see us. So I mean, you get an injury prone player, you pay him a max deal. And in the past, 2-3 seasons, he's yet to prove he hasn't been healthy since he left Utah. So, you just throwing money at names, essentially. We need somebody, which, I mean, granted, as a Hawks fan, I can relate to that because we've had so much trouble getting superstars to come here. But the difference is people still go to games versus up there, you can't get folks to come out. So a name like LaMelo Ball.
That was a caveat. I said that was a part of it. LaMelo's bringing the fans out. So,
but that's what I was just about to say that, and it's like, so a name like LaMelo Ball, a recognizable name, immediately got season ticket boost. So, I mean, I think that's really what this is. I don't think Jordan has any intention of this team winning anything. It's just we need ticket sales, and names help us do it.
Ryan, you're on mute.
That would help. I don't. You know what? Let me look at the playoffs from last year. NBA East standings 2020. So the Nets are obviously better. The Bucks are better. The Raptors, I think, are going to take a step back this year. Celtics are better. Pacers step back, yeah. Heat, like I said earlier, are probably going to take a slight step back. They're still a playoff team, though. 76ers, it's yet to be seen what they're actually trying to do up there. They still haven't beaten in Simmons. So I think you got 6 spots locked up right there. That leaves you with 2. I think, you know what? I'm gonna say the Raptors will be like a 5-6 seed this year because
with Fred VanVleet as their leader. Fred VanVleet,
as much as I want to count them out, I still think Siakam, VanVleet, and Lowry are good enough to lead them. And Nick Nurse is a hell of a coach. So I think the Magic fall out, and possibly the 76ers. Just depends. Just really depends. I really do think your Hawks are playoff bound this year. They're so loaded. I think Charlotte is a lot better than people think. They actually gave us fits at points last year, and they were a pretty good team.
Nobody could guard Devontae Graham.
Right, Devontae Graham's really good. Terry Rozier is going to be a good bench guy. I think he's an excellent player to bring off the bench for scoring from your guard spots.
A max bench player.
Right, that's the thing, man. You sign him to this max deal, and now you just drafted LaMelo Ball. You're not benching Devontae Graham, so I think you're going to run a 2-guard set unless they just signed Gordon Hayward. You can't run 3 guards with Gordon Hayward. He's not a stretch 4.
Right.
Because you also,
they can go play small, but
they could potentially move PJ Washington to the 5 and bench Cody Zeller because Zeller's just you can go find 10 Cody Zellers in the NBA right now. So what you might see is a 3 guards. You might see like an Oklahoma City remake and do 3 guards. Hayward at the 4, which he's much more of a matchup problem at the 4, but it's defensive liability there. And then PJ Washington at the 5. That's what I would do if I were them, because that's your best option to be really good. But then you're still short because PJ Washington is only like 6'7", 6'8". Hello.
Uh-oh. Wait.
Yeah.
Run that idea back. You cut off.
Yeah, I know. I saw it happen. You would still be a little. What is going on? ESPN is assaulting me right now. Like
With
it's
Bell.
literally like everything just started playing at once. I was going to say, if you run PJ Washington at the 5, it's like a PJ Tucker type of deal. And I don't think he's nearly as good as a defender as Tucker, because he's only like 6'7", 6'8". So it just really depends, man. I don't know what their idea is. It's like, how much money are you willing to put on your second unit? Because one of them is going to be paid a lot of money or be a very high draft pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, out of all the decisions that Gordon could have made, I thought Indiana would have been the best one.
I did too.
But you know, and then and Boston could have traded for did a sign and trade and got Miles Turner, who's better than Tristan Thompson. But hey, man, he picked, and I think I agree with Micah that this is some type of okay. Jordan's like, okay, let's sell some tickets real quick, because you know what I mean. And then they still got Mikal Bridges, so I don't know where they're gonna play him at. You know what I mean? He is a promising young. I just don't know what they're really doing. I'm not too worried about them taking a playoff spot, but you know, I think they'll be right there around 8-9 again, and just, you know, real scrappy and competitive. I wholly expected them to be one of the worst teams in the league last year, and they definitely, you know, outshone that. So we'll see. We'll see. So moving on to all that really matters to us here, and that is our Hawks. The Hawks have gone all in and decided that we do not want to be out of the mix any longer. We don't want these untalented teams that people laugh at and don't take serious. So what we did was we went hard. We opened up our bank account almost like to a thirsty level. It's like every 5 seconds you would see like, oh, the Hawks did this. Oh, Hawks did that. Hawks did this. It's like, damn. So we shored up our point guard depth. We signed Rondo, who is going to be a good vet for the team. We signed Dunn from Chicago, who is a great defender. It doesn't really do much else good besides that. Drafted a rookie to shore up our depth, and we're renting Tony Snell for a year. You know, he can come. He can come in and, you know, just put his hands up or whatever he'd be doing. And we added some, most importantly, we added some skill and shooting depth to our wings and partially our front court with Gallinari and Bogdanovic, which when we started, it was still pending, but apparently, Ryan, go ahead and give us the good news that you were going to give us.
Oh, the Kings declined to match the offer that the Hawks laid out for Bogdanovic.
Bogdanovic. Bogdan. Like, I wonder how that goes. Like Michael McMichaels. Like,
Which Bogdanovic are you talking about? Oh, I'm talking about Bogdanovic, not Bogdanovic.
Right.
Say that again.
Bogdanovic. Two guys, which I will say are, you know, defensive liabilities, but they give us a lot of interesting options, to say the least, in terms of what we do with our talent. So I want to ask y'all, starting with Ryan, how do you think this lineup, these lineups are going to work, particularly at the 4 with John Collins? And sort of like, after you sort of answer that, just generally, tell me, what do you think this means for the future of John, who was on the precipice of a max contract, but now Gallinari, who is a 4, doesn't really play the 3, has a 3-year deal?
Yeah, 3 years, 64 million, I think, 63 million.
That sounds like a commitment. So go ahead and let me know. What
I was actually talking about this with Marlon yesterday, and Gallinari is the wild card here. He has not been a bench player since like his rookie year. In the last 20, like not 20, excuse me, like 10 years, I think he's been in the league. He's been a starter, and he's been a productive starter. He shoots 40% from three. He shoots 90% from the stripe. He'll get you some boards here and there, but he's not like a good rebounding big. He definitely plays more like a small forward. That's what his skill sets are. But because of his lack of defensive abilities at the three, he has to play the four where, he can match up more athletically with those players. But with John Collins, there's no way we're moving him to the five. That's the reason we got Capella. So we know John Collins is staying at the four. He's too good to move to the bench as a 20 and 10 guy, and Trae Young's best, his favorite lob bait. So it's really tricky. Are we starting Gallinari at the three, where he's obviously worse on defense, and also worse on offense? He doesn't get that athletic ability plus that he gets when he matches up against fours.
Right. Because three is usually one of your better defenders, so that's gonna mess him up a little.
So that's interesting. That was kind of the reason I didn't really want to sign Gallinari, is just because it does mess things up. If we didn't sign Capella last year or trade for Capella last year, this would be like, okay, we're probably going to play John at the five and just be like, whatever, he sucks at defense. But that's not the case. So I'm not too sure what we do with that. The thing that makes the most sense to me is to move Gallinari to the 6-man spot. But you don't pay a 6-man $21 million a year. So, I mean, granted, I know we needed shooting, but I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you yet because I just haven't quite pinpointed in my head what we're going to do with all. Like, it's great. We have a ton of talent now. How are we going to use that talent, though? I trust McMillan to really help with that. So we'll see.
Micah.
Personally, I believe that Gallinari, while Gallinari was a big pickup, I think we wind up using him. I do think he probably is going to be the 6-man. I think Bogdanovich might start at the 3. And Hunter might come off the bench.
Wait, who's your
I think
two?
what? Huh?
Who's your 2?
It's
Bogdan at the 2.
Bogdan at the 2 makes more sense to me.
Oh yeah, I guess you could do that, and then just have make Cam the 7th and make Cam number 7 on the rotation, and just bury Herter so deep that he don't hardly get to play.
This is what you get for not taking open shots.
So, but I do think it doesn't bode well for John Collins long term. I think that giving him giving Danilo a 3-year deal puts us in a one financially. I don't know if you want to pay another max deal other than Trae. So what you might have to do is if unless Collins just comes and expands his range and consistency as a shooter and starts to play a little more play not even much better, but just if he improves his defensive effort, then maybe you could just say, we might be willing to do it and we might want to use Gallinari as a trade piece. But considering you paid Gallinari for 3 years, if John Collins doesn't step his game up, you might need to look at potentially moving him for something of value, whether it's draft picks or another player of need. Because I do think bringing in Onyeke, I can never remember his last name. Okongwu, yeah, Onyeke and Okongwu. You've already given yourself an option at the 4 who can play defense, and granted he's not as and offensively he's similar to John Collins' offensive game, but he's a good defender, and you match him up with Capella, and then you really have a good defensive front court. So I think they've kind of set themselves up where they don't have to lock John Collins up long term. They have other all options now, and could put in, like I said, if he doesn't take some steps forward in some areas, they could just use him as a trade piece.
Yeah, I have to agree with some of that, but so I think the problematic part, and I think it doesn't spell a positive future for John Collins, is the fact that we did give Gallo that $20 million a year, because no one's going to want that. You can't trade that once you sign that. It's going to be hard to trade that. But John Collins, on the other hand, he still has one more year to play. I think they're going to sort of evaluate to see what he does, but maybe they're just not happy with his development thus far. He's been missed 2 major time in 2 seasons in a row. You know what I mean? And even at the beginning of the last season, the games he did play, I was sort of looking at him like I was a little disappointed with him not adding anything crucial to his game, especially his defensive effort. That was probably the most disappointing part of me about John Collins. It's like, yeah, he can get the occasional like block shot just because he's a freak athletically, but positioning, IQ wise, it's just a lot of things just don't click defensively. So I think long term, we might be looking to, not have him on the team anymore. Yeah, and I sort of agree with that aspect, Micah. You look like you wanted to say something else, Ryan.
Oh, I was going to say that it's kind of in the same vein of what you just said. Like offensively, he has the potential to enter. Well, he's kind of already in the elite area for what he does, because he was one of only 2 players in the NBA to average 20, 10, and also shoot for over 40% from 3-pointers. It was him and Karl Anthony Towns, and that was it. So, I mean, he's damn good. He's damn good. But I think his defensive lapses and his liability there just makes it so hard to be like, yeah, he's a max player. Like, even if he were to like get 50% better, it's still not a max player, because like max players like Anthony Davis,
right,
at that position, and he's not Anthony Davis defensively, not even close, not even that close on offense. So I just don't like that. The idea is they're young, they're good, max them out. That's just not the case. It shouldn't be the case. Like, John Collins will probably get a max contract somewhere in the NBA, but he doesn't deserve it unless he just totally steps it up this season.
Right. I agree. Maybe the Clippers are looking for that replacement.
He would probably fit well there.
Yeah.
He's probably going to go to Cleveland.
Play with the guy that Ryan wanted before Trae Young was here. I forgot Colin Sexton. Who's good, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, Colin Sexton was damn good in college, but he capped out in college, it looked like.
He's underrated though. I mean, he still has the effort. He still has a good trajectory. I think he's underrated.
They're undersized anywhere with Garland and Sexton.
That made no sense to get Garland.
No sense at all.
Yeah.
So moving on with that. I just want to quickly get y'all's projected starting lineups for this team next year. Micah?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, all right. So definitely Trae for the point. Bogdanovich at the 2. I think you go Hunter at the 3. Collins at the 4. And Capella at the 5. I think 6-man is going to be Danilo, or either Danilo or Reddish, depending on if Cam makes some jumps this offseason, then he could potentially. But I think those 6th and 7th man are pretty much, they're going to get a lot of playing time. They're going to get some run with the starters. unlike some of the other bench guys. So I think that's my kind of quick rotation.
Right.
You want what I would do or what I think it's going to be?
Do what you would do.
I would go Trey at the 1, Bogdan at the 2, Cam at the 3, John at the 4, and then Capella at the 5.
Yeah.
I like that too. I do agree with Micah about bringing. I like Hunter to start just because he's more of a balanced player. But then I like doing like a Lou Will Montrez kind of thing and bringing Danilo and Cam Reddish, to spearhead our second unit. So there's like no real drop off. And then of course you got Rondo. God, man, we have so much talent on this team now.
Yeah.
Like, what a shift.
Yeah, literally where you're like, we can bring in 41-year-old Vince Carter, DeAndre Bembry, what was
Brandon Goodwin.
Brandon Goodwin, and what was the
still
freaking
on this
center
team?
that we just let go?
Deadman, Dwayne
not
Deadman.
him. The other one, Jones.
Oh. Yeah.
Damon Jones or whatever.
Old Warrior.
Yeah.
And we still got the other big who's pretty talented from
Bruno Fernando.
Yeah, Bruno.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
God, there's so much talent.
And like I said, Onyeke Okungwe.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Like it gets further and further away from his last name every time he says it. Okongu.
Oh man, Okungwe. All right, well,
Okungwe.
I can never remember his last name. I can remember Onyeke for that. Yeah, I mean, but
last question. And real funny, just because we're Atlanta fans, I will drop this. Kent Bazemore just signed with the Warriors.
You know
right
what?
back where it all started.
Good for Kent.
Right. And
I like Kent Bazemore. I
he's
loved
a good
him.
person.
I just called him out last week.
Yeah. That'll always be the one highlight I'll always remember where Kent Bazemore clear it out. Oh man. Game over.
Oops.
Off the knee. I saw people in the comments being like, "Oh yeah, he's good pickup." I'm like, Bazemore's trash, man. Like
he's not trash, but
No,
he's
trash,
not a
bro.
starter.
Did you see him in Sacramento, man? Did you see someone?
Yeah,
He was like rainbowing a layup straight over the hoop.
I missed that, but what did he
Oh
do?
man.
Bazemore has continued to not be good. All right, so last question of the segment. I'm gonna set the line at 42 wins. Are you going over, under, push, and then answer playoff team? And if so, what seed? Who did I ask first last time?
You asked me last time.
Okay, Brian.
Over 45. Playoff team, yes, 6th.
Micah.
I'm gonna say push. Considering it's a 72 game season, I think 42-30 isn't in the realm of impossibility. I think we get that. We get 5th seed, I want to say. Yeah, but I think we're a playoff team. I think we get the 5th seed.
I say push. I say 6th seed. Yeah, we're playing. Cool. And that concludes the layup, aka the finger roll, aka jelly time, aka points in the paint. Let's talk some baseball.
There wasn't much going on in baseball. I mean, it's the off season. It's kind of, we're in that dead space for baseball.
Right. One thing, Braves signed Charlie Morton.
Yeah.
And we also signed Drew Smiley. So we didn't go the big route with our guy Trevor Bauer, but it's a good signing nonetheless.
Does Charlie Morton pitch more than 3 innings this year?
Right.
Yes.
And he was in the World Series. So
now, here's the thing though. I think Charlie Morton is a good pickup. Gives us veteran depth at the starting rotation. The only thing is, you got the two young guys in Wright and what's the other pitcher? The other young pitcher that didn't.
Ian
The one that came in throwing gas.
Soroka.
No, the mullet.
No.
What is that fool's name?
Yeah, I can't remember
Not
his name.
Webb. What the hell is his
But
name?
but no, that the only thing it does hurt the Wright and the other guy, because now that they were vying for a potential fifth spot in the rotation, and that one of them might just be a trade piece. I think Kyle Wright is probably going to be the one that might get dangled as a trade piece. But other than that, I think we're probably going to do. We could potentially. I know we're planning on bringing back Marcelo Zuna, but I don't know exactly when they're going to
Bryce Wilson.
Put the offer.
Bryce.
Bryce Wilson. That's one. Yeah, I don't know when exactly they're going to try to really make an offer for him. So.
And Soroka is also it's not even Thanksgiving yet, and he's already pitching on flat surfaces. So
Good.
Yep.
This has Charlie Morton projected as our number 2 starter. That would be an absolute shock.
do y'all think it's
over Fried, Ian Anderson, and Fried and Ian Anderson, because I know Soroka. When Soroka comes back, well, I think Fried might be the ace next year.
Yeah, that's what they're projecting. They're projecting Fried 1, Morton 2, Soroka, Ian Anderson, Smiley is 5.
Okay. We'll see. Do you think it's time to give
That's
Newcomb,
still nasty though.
Newcomb and Tukey their walking papers?
Yeah, finally.
So,
I mean, if there's anybody that you have to say goodbye to just based off of performance and performance alone, it's got to be Tukey. Like, Nuke has proved that he can be a long reliever. Tukey has proven that he can't do anything.
Much anything.
that's the crazy thing is when you look at the actual pitches, Tukey could be something because he's got nasty movement on his pitches, but it's just between mental and just lack of control, it's just like, dude, we got to do something with you.
No consistency at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's pretty much it for baseball.
Oh, actually, I just saw this pop up. I don't know how old this is. Today at 3:25, actually, Micah's favorite Tampa Bay Devil Ray, Araz Zarania, was detained by Mexican police.
Wow.
What?
Randy Arozarena.
What'd he do?
Problems relating to his ex. Oh, he's an abuser, it seems like.
Oh, domestic issues.
Yeah.
Mm.
But the fact that you've been taken in by the police. Yeah.
Is he a native of Mexico?
Cuban.
Oh, he's Cuban. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's it for baseball.
So, on to the lightning round. All right. So, I had two questions that I thought were fairly good for this week, but I'm gonna ask the one that Marcos thought was the better or the easier question to answer. If you could throw a huge concert with 5 artists, which ones would you choose?
5 artists.
5 artists. Any
Living
5
only? Living art.
Yeah, I would say living, just because I think if you added dead, it would only take that list up even more. Like, just
I'm gonna go Sum 41, my opener. Gotta have Outkast in there. Let me say throw Foo Fighters on the bill just because I can't get Nirvana. I couldn't book them.
Yeah.
And then I'd say Green Day. And then let me throw one more urban act in there. Let me go Bone Thugs. The full thing, not the full team, not just crazy in flesh and bone and wishbone. I need the full squad to show up.
I'm looking through mine right now, trying to put them together. So I've got my favorite band, Zach Brown Band. Then I've got Logic, just because I'm a big Logic fan. I think he gets a lot of undeserved hate for reasons I don't get. I've got you know what? I'll put him in there because I've seen him once and he's probably one of the best concerts I've ever seen. Post Malone. Then Big Crit. And then this is where I struggle. I don't know who I need some rock in there, but I don't know who. Like I've seen Foo Fighters. That's hard. Who's my fifth guy?
It could be a chick too, man. Don't
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to do Bruno Mars and I don't want to do Childish Gambino. I'll go like Bruno Mars just because it'll probably be a good show, good time. I feel like it's a cop out though. I'm sure I'll think of someone later and be like, that's who I should have done.
Yours will probably be the best selling so far.
Yeah, probably.
All right. So I actually took this in two different directions for mine. It depends on what it really depends on what audience I'm trying to cater to. So I did both a just all over lineup and a Atlanta lineup. So for the all Atlanta lineup, I said Lil Jon, Luda, T.I.
Wait, real quick. Lil Jon by himself, or does he have the East Side?
Well,
boy?
the East Side
Just
boys.
Lil Jon.
I mean,
yeah. Shot.
So all right. So Lil Jon for this is the Atlanta roster. So Lil Jon, Luda, T.I., Usher at 4, and then the big number 5 would be the entire Dungeon family. So
all
CeeLo,
13 of them.
Outkast, Cujo, Backbone, and the surprise would be Andre 3000 comes out and performs with all of them.
Is Slim Calhoun gonna be there too?
Slim Cuddy Calhoun and Cool Breeze, all of them coming out. Because what they did, when they did that show, they all came out. The only one who wasn't there was Andre. So and then for my bigger one, I had Kendrick at the 1. Kendrick to start it off. J. Cole with 2. Usher, still Usher, number 3. The Roots at number 4. And Dungeon Family, all of them to end the show. We're going big. Like I said, Dungeon Family's gonna end my show regardless.
So it's just Outkast and Goody Mob trading songs pretty much.
And, no, it's okay. You gonna throw it's okay in there.
It's okay.
Watch for the hook. Backbone gonna hit 5 deuce 4 trade. Oh man,
Young Blood's make an appearance and do.
Oh man, yeah. Those were my 2 lists. But I would love to do the one with Kendrick and Usher and all them. Kendrick and Jeco. What?
Are you including Future in the Dungeon family? Is he coming out with him?
Yeah, he's a part of them too.
I know, but I'm saying.
I mean, he did work at Organized Noise, but I don't think he technically was part of the Dungeon family.
No, they list him.
Oh, okay. Well, then he can
He's
come
on
out
their wiki.
too.
He's on their wiki. But I guess I understand what his music doesn't necessarily fall into the Dungeon family. Like they didn't produce it.
Yeah.
I think I might.
But yeah, that was
fifth.
What'd you say?
So I think I might replace my fifth. And I'm debating if I would just want to do one or just cheat and get a 2-for-1. I think I might.
Did I freeze?
No one looks frozen on my end.
Okay, it froze for you. It must have been my internet.
Oh, I'd probably replace Bruno Mars with Run the Jewels.
That's a Dungeon family guy. You got a Dungeon family guy, so it's a clean sweep. We all got Dungeon family something in all of our lives.
Right. So yeah, I'll commit to that.
I forget that Killer Mike's a Dungeon family guy all the time.
Yeah. It's so good that he's finally getting national recognition because he was for so long just like really an Atlanta guy.
Right.
Bro. But which is crazy because Whole World was a big track globally.
Right.
And to me, he had the best verse in that song.
He made the song.
The most memorable. And I mean, like I said, Andre, and that's saying something because as much as I love Andre and Big Boy, you know that glitter, glisten, gloss, floss, I catch a beat running like Randy Moss. That is one of the most memorable parts out of that song. So
yeah. I mean, I love that whole song, though. But yeah, that definitely put me on to Killer Mike. And then Adidas.
Yeah.
Then he was also on the Madden soundtrack.
Action.
Yeah.
Action was a damn good song.
Yeah.
Cool. Is that it for your?
Yes, that is. Andy, I will sell that topic to you, and I'll sell you my other topic for $100 a pop.
Speaking of which, I have been talking to Andy and having him come back on, but bringing Randy with him. So it's pretty much confirmed. We just have to work out the time to have them on because I told him, I was like, hey, look, we're flexible. Let us make it work for you guys and we'll do this. So, look out for probably next week or even later this week. Maybe we'll do a 2-for-1 depending on what it's like. For Andy and Randy to join us on the show. Nicole will love that episode for reasons I won't talk about. But yeah, so we're also reaching out to some other guys. I just tagged the Falcoholic, said, hey guys, you want to come on and talk to us on our show? And I believe I saw them respond. So
yeah, they liked it.
I told them we have cookies, beer, and if you're not into those things, just are sometimes or mostly above average personalities.
Yeah.
We have cookies.
But that wraps it up. That's number 28, guys. That was my jersey number for the longest time when I was playing most sports, just because I thought 28 was a cool number, and I still do. It's one of my favorite numbers, and I don't know why.
You should have told him. We got popsicles in the
popsicles.
Popsicles.
Calm down, Cruz. All right, yeah, that wraps it up. For those of y'all who listen tomorrow when this goes up, enjoy your day. Enjoy your holidays. Make sure to be safe. Remember, COVID is still a thing. It's not going away just because you're eating turkey. As always,
if you're having gatherings, please be responsible.
Exactly. Always. That even goes outside of COVID times because people get crazy during gatherings,
especially outside of COVID times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we are Fish and Grits, the podcast. Guys, we're still waiting for that 150 to do our drawing. So if you recommend, I'm going to put up a post and do that. And the more people you tag, the more entries you'll get. How about that? So we got some cool gear. I've actually got some really good ideas that I want to talk to them about and possibly putting out more stuff. But yeah, thanks for listening. I know this was a long one. This is probably going to be pushing 2.5 to 3 hours, somewhere in there. But we had a lot to say. We had a lot to talk about, and it was a lot of fun. I'm Ryan Dollar. Guys, see yourselves out.
Hey, Marco.
Nah, Micah.
Micah, you need to get that 56K fixed, my friend. You've been behind this whole time.
You've been lagging.
All right, y'all. Have a good one. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.